Hello and welcome back to WION World is One. I'm Kanishka Sarkar and you have tuned into Speed News. Let's get started with all the stories making headlines at this hour. Donald Trump said US and Iran are still in continuous contact and denied reports that Iran has cut off talks amid regional tensions. The US president said that negotiations have been ongoing daily, though he acknowledged uncertainty about their outcome. The US military said that it had successfully defeated a series of Iranian missile and drone attacks in the Gulf and conducted self-defense strikes on Iran's Qashm Island. US Central Command also denied claims by Iran's Revolutionary Guard that they had struck the headquarters of the US Navy's 5th Fleet in Bahrain and a separate airbase in the region. US forces disabled an unladen oil tanker that was attempting to sail toward an Iranian port on the Arabian Gulf. US Central Command enforced blockade measures against Botswana-flagged vessel as it transited international waters toward Kharg Island and exiting Iranian port on April 13th. US forces have disabled 6 commercial vessels and redirected 122 as the ceasefire with Iran continues. Kuwait's military announced that its air defense systems were intercepting what it described as hostile missiles and drones. The military said any explosion sounds heard were caused by these interception operations. This comes as Iran launched missile and drone attacks targeting US military facilities in Kuwait and Bahrain. Iran's armed forces said they targeted the US 5th Fleet and a US airbase in the region in response to what they call US strikes on an Iranian vessel. Israel and Hezbollah continued to exchange fires as Israeli and Lebanese envoys met in Washington for direct talks. The fresh escalation despite US President Donald Trump's announcement on Monday that he brokered a deal as part of which Israeli forces would not bomb the Lebanese capital in exchange for Hezbollah not attacking Israel. Lebanon's state-run national news agency reported Israeli strikes on around 30 locations across the south. Hezbollah, meanwhile, said it had attacked Israeli troops in southern Lebanese land that they occupy but did not claim attacks in Israel. The fighting took place with Israeli and Lebanese diplomats in Washington for a 4th round of direct talks since the start of the current war. The death toll from Russia's latest missile and drone attacks across Ukraine has risen to 23, while more than 130 people have been wounded. The United Nations has condemned these strikes and called for an immediate ceasefire. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has also urged citizens to remain alert, warning of the possibility of another large-scale attack. The Ukrainian Air Force says Russia launched 73 missiles and 656 drones through the night. Despite Ukraine's multi-layered defenses, dozens penetrated, striking residential areas. In Kyiv, 7 people died and around 50 were injured. Major protests broke out in UK's southern city of Southampton over the death of an 18-year-old student who was handcuffed as he lay dying from stab wounds. After his killer falsely alleged a racist attack last December, protesters marched through the city centre towards the scene of the crime where police blocked the road. The demonstrators then attacked officers with bricks, bottles and bins. The attacker, Vikram Digwa, a 23-year-old Sikh man, was sentenced to life in prison on Monday, having lied to the police at that time that Nowak had assaulted him. 18-year-old Henry Nowak was heard repeatedly telling officers, "I can't breathe." in police body cam footage as he lay mortally wounded after a night out with his football team members. The administration of United States, President Donald Trump, is abandoning its nearly $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund amid widespread political backlash and legal setbacks. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche confirmed the pivot in an appearance before the Appropriations Committee in the House of Representatives. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio told lawmakers that Venezuela needs a government that is chosen through free and fair elections. Rubio added that the conditions are to be created for an election to take place. U.S. Secretary of State made the comments in testimony to the House Appropriations Committee. Video released by the U.S. Justice Department showed a sophisticated tunnel that runs hundreds of feet under the U.S.-Mexico border. The passageway, which stretches from the Mexican city of Tijuana to an outlet in the Cute Mesa port of entry, is estimated to be 1,933 feet long, 55 feet deep, and up to 4.5 feet in height. Honduran police arrested the alleged mastermind behind the armed attack on May 21st that left 19 people dead in the north of the country. The detainee, identified as 27-year-old Carlos Molina, is alleged to have planned the massacre, which took place in a village in the municipality of Trujillo. Widespread anti-government road blockades have severely crippled Bolivia. The protests have paralyzed supply lines and triggered critical shortages across major cities like La Paz and El Alto. The unrest was heavily sparked by the government's decision to end a 20-year fuel subsidy program, causing immediate spikes in fuel costs. The protests, which escalated in mid-May 2026, represent a major national crisis for conservative President Rodrigo Paz, who took office in November 2025. Teachers in Mexico City toppled and vandalized several World Cup promotional player statues along the iconic Avenida Reforma. The incident occurred as part of the ongoing demonstrations by the National Coordinator of Education Workers Labor Union just days before the country is set to co-host the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Bangladesh Foreign Minister Khalilur Rahman has been elected President of the 81st session of the United Nations General Assembly following a closely contested vote at the UN headquarters in New York. In the secret ballot election, Rahman secured 99 votes, defeating Cyprus candidate Andreas Kakouris, who received 91 votes. A total of 190 member states participated in the voting process, with no abstentions or invalid ballots recorded. The presidency of the General Assembly rotates among the UN's regional groups, and the upcoming session falls under the Asia-Pacific group. Rahman will assume office on September 8th for a one-year term. South Koreans voted in local elections expected to boost President Lee Jae-myung's ruling Democratic Party. Voters will choose mayors and governors in 16 cities and provinces. The contest is being seen as an assessment of Lee's first year in office and a test of whether the Conservative People Power Party can recover from the fallout of former President Yoon Suk-yeol's failed martial law bid in 2024. This is the first nationwide ballot since its snap presidential election victory last year. On to updates coming in from India. India has rejected any role for third parties to resolve its boundary row with Nepal. This days after Nepalese Prime Minister Balendra Shah sought involvement of China and the UK to address the long-standing dispute. External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Ranveer Jaiswal said that both sides have established bilateral mechanisms to deal with all aspects of border issue and that close to 98% of the India-Nepal boundary has been demarcated. A massive political transition is officially underway in Karnataka. Today, Congress' D.K. Shivakumar will take the oath of office as the state's next chief minister, marking a brand new chapter for the ruling party. The high-stakes transition follows days of intense deliberation in New Delhi. Congress National President Mallikarjun Kharge and Lok Sabha Leader of Opposition Rahul Gandhi chaired crucial meetings with Chief Minister-designate Shivakumar and outgoing Chief Minister Siddaramaiah to finalize the new cabinet contours and discuss the upcoming Rajya Sabha nominees. Today's swearing-in formally ends months of leadership speculation. Indian Army, Jammu and Kashmir Police and the CRPF's cordon and search operation continues for the 12th day in J&K's Rajouri. The security forces continue to track down terrorists believed to be hiding in the dense forest areas of Rajouri. The Defence Research and Development Organisation and the Indian Air Force have successfully conducted flight tests of the indigenous Rudram-2 air-to-surface missile from an airborne platform, marking a significant milestone in India's quest for self-reliance in advanced defence technologies. The flight tests were carried out in the Integrated Test Range, Chandipur, under extreme release conditions. Following the launch, the missile accurately navigated to a predefined target and achieved pinpoint precision, successfully meeting all mission objectives. On to climate updates now. Torrential rain brought by tropical storm Jangmi lashed Tokyo, with some rivers along central Tokyo such as Meguro River already overflowing. Local media reported 700 domestic and international flights have also been grounded at Tokyo's Haneda and Narita airports. Evacuation warnings for parts of neighboring Yokohama along with landslide warnings for parts of Japan's eastern coastal region have been announced. At least 16 people were injured and thousands left with temporary power outages after Jangmi blew through Okinawa on Monday. Floodwaters from the Euphrates have submerged farms, homes and displacement tents in Syria's Darazar and Raqqa provinces. Authorities had warned of rising river levels following heavy rains and increased flows from neighboring Turkey. France experienced its hottest spring since records began in 1900, marked by a scorching early heat wave at the end of May. The Weather Service said that season broke previous spring records set in 2011 and 2020. The United Nations Weather Agency has warned that the world must prepare for the imminent return of El Nino and the supercharged weather extremes it brings along. The powerful natural weather pattern, which raises global temperatures and worsens rainfalls, comes as human-induced climate change continues to alter behavior and consequences. The World Meteorological Organization says that there's an 80% chance of an El Nino, the warm phase of a natural climate cycle in the Pacific Ocean, developing between June and August, and a 90% chance that the event will arrive by November. On to updates from the world of tech now. OpenAI's ChatGPT has reached 1 billion monthly active app users worldwide. According to market intelligence firm Sensor Tower, the milestone makes ChatGPT the fastest app ever to reach the 1 billion user mark, achieving the feat in just 3 years after its launch. Sensor Tower said ChatGPT grew faster than apps such as TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Google Maps. The report comes as competition in the AI industry continues to intensify, with Anthropic's Claude emerging as a fast-growing rival. South Korea's Internet and Security Agency has gained access to Anthropic's cybersecurity AI model Mythos, according to the country's science ministry. The access comes through Anthropic's Project Glasswing, an initiative that uses advanced AI models to identify and help fix cybersecurity vulnerabilities. The Science Ministry said it has been working closely with Anthropic and confirmed that the Korea Internet and Security Agency is participating in the program. According to a Financial Times report, Anthropic is expanding access to Mythos to around 150 organizations across more than 15 countries. Taiwan's top military research institute has unveiled 3 robot patrol dogs that could be used for security operations on the island and in the disputed South China Sea. The robo-dogs were displayed at a defense event in Taipei, featuring reconnaissance, surveillance, and firepower versions. The 4-legged robots are built by US company Ghost Robotics, with Taiwan adding its own military technology to the systems. One version is equipped with a weapon system, while others are designed for patrol and intelligence gathering missions. On to updates from the world of business now. Japan approved a $19 billion extra budget to help households and businesses cope with rising energy and living costs caused by Middle East tensions. The funds will mainly subsidize gasoline, electricity, and gas bills by replenishing government reserves already used for earlier support measures. The package is being financed through deficit bonds and other fiscal offsets, with officials aiming to avoid a sharp increase in total bond issuance despite Japan's heavy debt load. Overall, it's a short-term cushion to protect consumers from global oil price shocks, not a structural economic reform. SpaceX is preparing a record IPO to raise about $75 billion at around $135 per share, implying a valuation of near $1.75 trillion. According to Reuters reports, the offering is expected to be an all-primary listing, meaning all proceeds go to SpaceX for expansion rather than existing shareholders cashing out. Underwriters include major banks like Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley, with the IPO potentially becoming the largest in the history if demand holds. Key drivers are Starlink, growth launch dominance, and future space AI infrastructure plans, though analysts still flag financial and governance risks. Kevin Walsh, the new Federal Reserve Chair, says he will preserve the Fed's core traditions like disciplined monetary policy and institutional independence, while also pushing major reforms. In a memo to the staff, he stressed continuity in policy credibility, but signaled changes to the Fed's structure and tools, including shrinking the $6.7 trillion balance sheet and rethinking how inflation is measured. He also appointed outside policy advisors to help shape early reforms. Wash's approach reflects a dual message: maintain trust in the Fed while challenging long-standing practices, especially those tied to post-crisis monetary expansion and communication strategies. The Trump administration has appealed a court order requiring refunds of roughly $166 billion in tariffs that were previously struck down by the Supreme Court. U.S. Customs and Border Protection has already started processing repayments, with about $85 billion in progress and $20.6 billion approved. More than 330,000 importers may be eligible, including large firms like FedEx and Costco. The dispute now hinges on whether the refund system will continue while the appeal is reviewed, as the legal fight over the president's tariff authority intensifies. French President Emmanuel Macron met France's squad ahead of the FIFA World Cup. Captain Kylian Mbappe welcomed Macron at the squad's training center, which lies 50 kilometers outside Paris. France are set to leave for the United States on June 10th, ahead of the World Cup's kickoff on June 11th. France won the 2018 World Cup and lost the final to Argentina in 2022. Once again, the two-time world champions will be one of the favorites for the title. They begin their campaign against Senegal on June 16th. On to updates from the world of entertainment now. Nicolas Galitzine and Camila Mendes took over New York City to drum up excitement for the highly anticipated big screen reimagining of Masters of the Universe. Galitzine steps into the role of Prince Adam or He-Man, and Mendes co-stars as the fierce warrior Teela. The actors greeted fans and media ahead at the premiere. The film promises an action-packed, modernized take on the beloved franchise. The highly anticipated horror film Backrooms has completely shattered box office records with a staggering opening weekend in the UK and Ireland. The psychological horror film has grossed approximately £4.2 to £4.3 million, which is around $5.7 million. With this, the movie has easily claimed the top spot, thereby setting a new benchmark for independent horror debuts. The film's unprecedented success ensures Backrooms to be one of the year's most talked about theatrical runs. Excitement for Imtiaz Ali's highly anticipated film Main Wapas Aaunga is surging globally. In a rare move for a Hindi film, the advanced bookings in North America will open early on June 5th due to unprecedented overseas demand. The movie stars Diljit Dosanjh, Nasiruddin Shah, Sharwari Wagh and Vedang Raina. Main Wapas Aaunga also reunites the legendary trio A.R. Rahman, Irshad Kamil and Imtiaz Ali, who previously collaborated in movies such as Rockstar, Tamasha, Amar Singh Chamkila and Highway. Main Wapas Aaunga hits theatres worldwide on June 12, 2026. Right, that's all the time that we have in this edition of Speed News. I'm Kanishka Sarkar. Thank you for watching. More news and updates will continue on the other side.